Well, after his visit to the United States, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed back in the national capital. He's back home, and these are pictures from the Palam technical area of the Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi, where the Prime Minister and his team have just landed back. That's him descending the stairs from Air India One, greeted by protocol. A big welcome by the BJP. Earlier today, our reporters had told us that a grand welcome back had been planned by the BJP after what they had termed a highly successful visit to the United States. Now that, of course, is still in the realm of analysis, but the atmospherics, the big ticket, highly visible show at Madison Square Garden and the rest of New York, and those highly anticipated burden of hope meetings with President Barack Obama have all yielded a huge number of talking points over the next few days that will no doubt be wrung dry on media channels and in newspapers. But Prime Minister Modi has to hit the ground running. There's no rest for the Chief Executive. As he returns to the country, there's the Swachh Bharat mission that begins tomorrow that he will be participating in. And then, remember, it's election season. So he will be hitting the ground running. Haryana and Maharashtra beckon. And we're taking you live now to Gaurav Sawant and Rahul Kanwal in New York to get you a recap of some of the best moments of Modi in New York.
Good morning and a warm welcome. It's past midnight here in the United States and we are back from Washington DC to New York. We traveled in fact with Foreign Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj on an Amtrak. The Prime Minister is currently on his way back to New Delhi, bringing the curtains down, one of the most high-profile, most bombastic visits any Prime Minister has ever undertaken, Gaurav.
This indeed is the case. There was burden of hope riding on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States of America. And this was a visit which was extremely crucial at multiple levels, whether it was political, diplomatic, or linking India and America, people to people, economies, defense strategy.
Over the next half an hour, we will take a look at the big takeaways from this meeting. But we want to start with the summit meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and American President Barack Obama and take a look at what emerged in the joint declaration put out by the two countries. Take a look at this report.
A very strong climax to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's maiden visit to the United States. A 5-day American sojourn ending on a high few would have expected some months ago.
Thank you.
In their first summit, Obama and Modi vowed to push the bilateral relationship to new levels, expressing the hope that Indo-US relations will make fast progress, promising to expand and deepen their country's strategic partnership and make it a model for the rest of the world. Prime Minister Modi said his conversation with President Obama has reinforced his belief that India and US are natural partners. The big takeaways for India are sanctions against Pak-based terror group, unprecedented cooperation in combating terror, a greater role in Afghanistan and the world stage, US funding for energy and infrastructure sectors, easier access to US for Indian IT companies without compromising on US demand on Food Act.
दक्षिण एशिया सहित पश्चिम एशिया और अन्य क्षेत्रों में पनप रहे आतंकवाद की चुनौतियों पर हमने विस्तार से विचार विमर्श किया। हमने काउंटर टेररिज्म और इंटेलिजेंस में पारस्परिक सहयोग बढ़ाने पर सहमति व्यक्त की। भारत ट्रेड फैसिलिटेशन का समर्थन करता है, परंतु मेरी यह भी अपेक्षा है कि ऐसा समाधान निकले जो हमारी फूड सिक्योरिटी की चिंताओं को भी दूर करे। हम दोनों सिविल न्यूक्लियर कोऑपरेशन को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं और इससे जुड़े मुद्दों को जल्दी सुलझाने के प्रति गंभीर है। यह भारत की एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है।
In the hour-long discussions with Obama, while Prime Minister Modi demanded easier access to Indian services in the US, he also invited American companies to participate in Indian defense. Hence, the SOPs for the US greater access to Indian markets, particularly in the multi-billion-dollar defense sector. Greater assurances on the civil nuclear deal, help in countering the Afghan threat, and assistance in fighting the Ebola menace.
We discussed what has now been a successful peaceful transition of power in Afghanistan and the need for all of us to work together. And we discussed how we can continue to work together on a whole host of issues from space exploration and scientific endeavor to dealing with humanitarian crises like Ebola in West Africa.
Apparently, America has used Modi's visit to strengthen togetherness and common goals. The second day of attention from President Obama is rare for visiting heads of state. Hard to ignore the rare gesture when Obama accompanied Modi to pay homage at the memorial of Martin Luther King in Washington. With inputs from Rahul Kaval and Rajdeep Sardesai, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
United against terror. That was the theme of India and America coming together. And this was one meeting where Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Barack Obama, Rahul, they spoke nuts and bolts. They discussed nuts and bolts about dealing with terror, not just ISIS, but also terror that affects India.
I was, Gaurav, at the State Department press briefing after the summit meeting got over, and the sense that I picked up by speaking to some officials is that the United States was slightly unhappy, even though they didn't say so openly, about the fact that India didn't commit physically to being involved in the war against the ISIL. While they did commit moral support, they said we'll help out in the way that we can. America was looking for India committing its boots, its bombers. India didn't do that, and that's something that America was a little concerned about.
America did want India to commit boots on ground. De-radicalization is one area where America does want India to focus on. A big takeaway is America putting restrictions on Lashkar-e-Taiba assets in Pakistan and also focusing on D Company, Dawood Ibrahim. Will India and America actually move together to nail Pakistan without naming Pakistan?
The real question is, will America, after this meeting, stop differentiating between the good terrorists and the bad terrorists and be prepared to come down against Hafiz Saeed and Dawood Ibrahim as hard as they came down against Osama bin Laden? Take a look at this report.
It's a big blow for Pakistan. Biggest takeaways from the Modi-Obama summit at the White House. Days after Nawaz Sharif raked up the Kashmir issue and Prime Minister Modi called for global action against terrorism, US has agreed to fight terrorism together with India. In their first summit meeting, Obama and Modi vowed that the two countries will take steps to dismantle terror networks. The two biggest enemies of India, Dawood Ibrahim and Hafiz Saeed, both incidentally operating out of Pakistan, are now as much on the American hit list as the Indian. Though there was no mention of Pakistan, Modi managed to extract some big promises out of the United States. The two countries have agreed to work together on disrupting financial and tactical support for the LET, JEM, the D Company and the Haqqani network. A joint and concerted effort will be made to dismantle safe havens for terrorists and criminal networks. The United States has already placed sanctions on Harkatul Mujahideen founder Fazlur Rahman Khalil. The terror organization that renamed itself Ansarul Ummah to escape sanctions. The US Treasury Department also placed sanctions on Mohammed Naeem Sheikh and Umar Naeem Sheikh for providing financial support to the LET.
दक्षिण एशिया सहित पश्चिम एशिया और अन्य क्षेत्रों में पनप रहे आतंकवाद की चुनौतियों पर हमने विस्तार से विचार विमर्श किया। हमने काउंटर टेररिज्म और इंटेलिजेंस में पारस्परिक सहयोग बढ़ाने पर सहमति व्यक्त की।
On security, we agreed to have joint and concerted efforts, including to seek the dismantling of safe havens for terrorist and criminal networks, and to disrupt the financial and tactical support for Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, the D Company, and the Haqqani network.
Clearly, President Obama and Prime Minister Modi set US-Indian ties on a higher plane with a commitment to combat terrorist threats together and keep both the countries safe from terror attacks. With inputs from Rajdeep Sardesai and Rahul Kaval, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
The real substance of the Modi visit will be debated for days to come. But what cannot be disputed, Gaurav, was the sheer visual imagery, the spectacle, the gladiatorial style of Narendra Modi on a revolving stage at the world-famous Madison Square Garden. He's taken the bar so high for any other politician to try and compete with.
Absolutely. I mean, here's one man who took America by storm, and every event from the moment he landed, the crowds at the New York Palace Hotel, at the UN General Assembly, you were there at the Madison Square Garden, the crowds at the Times Square, just watching him on those giant screens. And of course, that event at the Central Park.
In fact, Joe Biden, the American Vice President, joked at the State Department lunch, saying that Billy Joel called him and said, "I hope your Prime Minister has not made a permanent booking at Madison Square Garden." The joke here is that not since the Knicks won back in the 70s has anybody been able to fill up Madison Square Garden with the fervour that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was able to.
A never-seen-before spectacle. A coming-out party for Indian Americans. A political rock concert. The event to honor Prime Minister Narendra Modi at New York's Madison Square Garden was all that and much more. On 28 September, Modi madness at Madison Square was at fever pitch. The chants, cheers and roars for Modi reverberated through New York City's most famous entertainment and sports arena. And when the man himself emerged, dressed in a bright yellow kurta and a saffron jacket, an estimated crowd of 19,000 people went berserk. Once Narendra Modi started speaking, America listened.
हमारे पूर्वज तो सांप के साथ खेलते थे, लेकिन हम माउस के साथ खेलते हैं। अहमदाबाद में 1 किलोमीटर ऑटो रिक्शा में जाना है तो 10 रुपया लगता है। हमें मार्स पर पहुंचने में सिर्फ 7 रुपया लगा 1 किलोमीटर का।
Madison Square Garden has played host to the biggest rock stars and sporting legends. This was the first time a world leader was on stage, and he managed to bowl everyone over.
No foreign leader comes to the United States of America on a Sunday afternoon in New York City and has 30 members of Congress from all over the country fly here to meet him on Sunday. That does not happen. This is completely unprecedented to get this kind of a welcome and kind of reception from U.S. Congress, Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate on a Sunday afternoon at a packed Madison Square Garden.
Not just those who were at Madison Square Garden, Prime Minister Modi managed to enthrall thousands more who had thronged the streets of New York to be part of the extravaganza.
What was it about Mr. Modi's speech that attracted you the most? What did you like?
I think so. The conceptual change, what he said from a snake charmer country to a mouse country, where we are showing that we are completely developed. That was a big change.
So you believe that Mr. Modi is signaling a change, a newer India, a younger India. You wanted to say something here.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we have actually seen a statesman, a true leader. And I think we just had prime ministers for all these years, but this time we truly have a leader.
You can look at the crowd that's swelling up here at the Times Square. Some youngsters, you're a very young lad. What brings you here?
To see Narendra Modi.
Why do you want to see Prime Minister Modi?
Because I want to see if he can change India and make it look like America.
But tell me this, a lot of people say the Indian Americans are very excited about Prime Minister Modi coming here. Why this excitement?
Listen, Narendra Modi is a magician in the world right now, okay? When Narendra Modi come here, look at anywhere he give a speech, people love him. Okay, now we all Indians, we feeling the father come from our town. That's what we got a feeling here.
It was the world leader on a world stage, one of the biggest highlights of Modi's Mission America. With Rahul Kanwal, Gaurav Sawant and Rajdeep Sardesai in New York, Bureau Report, headlines today.
And we're talking about India's soft power on display in New York, in Washington DC, Garba, Dandiya and Bhangra on the front lawns of White House.
And it's not just Modi who knows how to put on a show and a spectacle. All his supporters were set to play their roles as well. They'd come out doing the Bharatnatyam to God Bless America. We saw them do the Garba. They forced us to join hands with whatever little Garba we could pull off. It was very fascinating to see how the Indian-American community chased Modi wherever he went. From the 9/11 memorial to the Madison Square Garden to the White House, wherever Modi went during this visit, Indian Americans ran after him, and they made quite a statement of intent of power, because that gave White House, that gave all the congressmen and senators the knowledge that here is a prime minister who's hugely beloved, who has the backing, the firm backing of his people behind him.
It was an Indian carnival outside the White House in America. While Prime Minister Narendra Modi met US President Barack Obama, the Indian-American community was out in full strength. There was Garba and Bhangra and even Bharatnatyam.
We're here right outside the White House this morning, and a cultural extravaganza playing itself out live on the lawns in front of the White House. Behind us, the crucial meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and American President Barack Obama. In a while from now, the Prime Minister will be leaving from here to head to the Martin Luther King Memorial, and the lawns in front of the White House have literally been taken over by the Indian-American community here in Washington.
The excitement around Prime Minister's visit to the United States had been building up for weeks. And once Narendra Modi landed in New York, he was greeted by a rousing reception. Wherever he went, huge crowds lined up the streets to get a glimpse of Narendra Modi. And he obliged every time, waving to the crowds, getting up close and personal with them. From New York to Washington DC, the crowds followed wherever Modi went.
You've actually been coming all the way to the 9/11 memorial as well. I remember seeing you over
Absolutely,
there.
sir.
Where all have you chased Modi?
Oh, we chased to 9/11 memorial, we chased him to UN, then what do you call Central Park. It's called following every single footstep. It's not chasing your PM. We are stalking our Prime Minister.
It's worth getting up so early in the morning and see him.
What time did you wake up? Where are you coming?
4:30.
India's mighty soft power was a big advantage as Narendra Modi tried to win America over.
The mood is predictably joyous here. Local cultural groups playing Garba and Bhangra at the same time. What do you want to do, Bhangra first? So I have to do both. I have to start with first doing Bhangra. Garba. Dandiya kya chhe? Dandiya. No Dandiya. Okay. Now whether the Prime Minister actually sees this or not, we don't know. But for now at least, clearly the Indian community wants to have their presence really felt here at Washington DC.
Bureau Report, headlines today.
At the United Nations General Assembly, the Prime Minister spoke Hindi, and here is what people saw. They saw India's Prime Minister. They also saw a world leader speak of India playing a much bigger role on the world stage.
He reaffirmed India's commitment to multilateralism And from what Ashok Kumar Mukherjee, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, told me, there were apparently 100 delegates who lined up to shake hands and congratulate Prime Minister Narendra Modi as soon as he finished his speech. And there was visible joy on Ashok Kumar Mukherjee's face as he said it as a pride as an Indian to have a Prime Minister who's emerging as a global statesman. The ambassador said never in his diplomatic career had he seen anything like this.
प्रत्येक राष्ट्र की विश्व की अवधारणा, उसकी सभ्यता व उसकी दार्शनिक परंपरा के आधार पर निरूपित होती है। भारत का चिरंतन विवेक समस्त विश्व को एक कुटुंब के रूप में देखता है। भारत अपनी प्रगति के लिए एक शांतिपूर्ण और स्थिर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वातावरण की अपेक्षा करता है। हमारा भविष्य हमारे पड़ोस से जुड़ा हुआ है। इसी कारण मेरी सरकार ने पहले ही दिन से पड़ोसी देशों से मित्रता और सहयोग बढ़ाने पर पूरी प्राथमिकता दी है। यूएन जैसा इतना अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म हमारे पास होने के बाद भी अनेक जी समूह बनाते गए हम। आज हम कई जी की बातें करते हैं जिसके नंबर बदलते रहते हैं। कभी G4 होगा, कभी G7 होगा, कभी G20 होगा, हम बदलते रहते हैं। और चाहे या न चाहे हम भी उन समूहों में जुड़े हैं, भारत भी जुड़ा हुआ है। लेकिन क्या आवश्यकता नहीं है कि हम G1 से आगे बढ़ करके G-all की तरफ कदम उठाएं? हमारे लिए एक सार्थक अंतर्राष्ट्रीय भागीदारी की आवश्यकता है। एक स्तर पर इसका अर्थ हुआ नीतियों का बेहतर समन्वय, ताकि हमारे प्रयत्न परस्पर सहयोग को बढ़ावा दे तथा दूसरे को क्षति न पहुंचाए। ये उसकी पहली शर्त है कि दूसरे को क्षति न पहुंचाए। इसका यह भी अर्थ है कि जब हम अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापारिक संबंधों की रचना करते हैं तो हमें एक दूसरे की चिंताओं व हितों का भी ध्यान रखना चाहिए। हमें यूएन पीस कीपिंग के पुनीत कार्य को पूरी शक्ति प्रदान करनी चाहिए। जो देश अपनी सैन्य टुकड़ियों का योगदान करते हैं उन्हें निर्णय प्रक्रिया में शामिल करना चाहिए। निर्णय प्रक्रिया में शामिल करने से उनका हौसला बुलंद होगा।